If you would have told me in week 1 that we could see a college football playoff with Georgia, Oklahoma State, Cincinnati, and Michigan, I would have told you that you were absolutely crazy. College football has had a serious problem where the same 5 to 6 schools make the playoff every single year. In the past few years, it has been Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Notre Dame, and Oklahoma. Luckily, it looks like that's not going to be the case this year. It has been a fantastic season, and college football playoff history is likely going to happen. Cincinnati deserves a shot to be in. No one saw Oklahoma State coming. Michigan was never supposed to beat Ohio State, and Georgia's only been to the playoff one time. Oklahoma now has 2 losses, Ohio State now has 2 losses, Clemson has 3 losses, and Alabama is 1 loss away from being eliminated. For fans outside of those 4 schools, it is a great time to be alive, and we could finally have one of the best college football playoffs ever, and we could finally see a change with the college football playoff. In today's video, I want to talk about all the madness that is going on, what I expect to happen for this playoff, and why change is good for the sport. But right before we get into it, nearly 80% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel, and we can do better than that, so be sure to hit that button, smash that like button for the algorithm, turn on post notifications, and let me know what topic I could do next. Now, let's get started. I've probably triggered a lot of the big blue blood fan bases as I've made videos about Ohio State and Alabama, but you know what, who cares? It's a great day for the sport of college football as change is coming. After last year's 2020 season, we all knew we were in for a treat in 2021. I don't think people knew it would be this incredible though. So far, we've seen so many upsets, and a lot of the big brands have not been playing as normal. In week 1, we saw Clemson get beat by Georgia. While at the time Clemson did not look that bad, they had since sputtered out of control and they lost 3 games. The Tigers have been in the playoff pretty much every year, and they've been one of those dominant teams that everyone brings up when it comes to the playoff. They're gone. In week 2, we saw Oregon go on the road and beat Ohio State. I have no idea how this happened, as Oregon's best player, Kayvon Thibodeau, was not even able to play, but they still went into Columbus, won that game, and now Ohio State was only 1 more loss away from elimination. Oregon had been to the playoff before, but most people don't mind them, or they don't consider them in that elite tier. We then saw Iowa eliminate Iowa State from the playoff picture, and while I would have loved to see the Cyclones do that, that was a major upset early on. Texas A&M took care of Alabama, and despite nearly blowing that game, they won off a game-winning field goal, and it proved that a backup quarterback who is not a blue-chip recruit can still have a great moment, aka Zach Calzada. Oklahoma, on the other hand, went through a lot of turmoil, but they didn't get that loss. Everyone was extremely frustrated that they kept winning these close games, especially after that Kansas game. Eventually, though, it caught up to them, and Baylor took care of them, and then tonight, we saw Oklahoma State win. Oklahoma State had maybe the worst stretch of football I've seen in my life, as seemingly in 4 plays, they had a safety, a muff punt for a touchdown, a missed field goal, and a drop pick 6. It couldn't have got any worse, but Oklahoma State took control, won the game, and now they're going to the Big 12 championship and have college football playoff hopes. I do have to say this though, Caleb Williams is going to be an absolute star, as he's one of the toughest players I've ever seen, and his will to win that game was unbelievable, and I gotta give mad credit to him. Notre Dame is a team that has been to the playoff consistently, but we finally got a chance to see them go down. Cincinnati was preparing for the biggest game in school history, and they were definitely prepared as they went into South Bend and upset the Fighting Irish. Desmond Ridder and Luke Fickell showed the world that Cincinnati football was legit and that they were serious about going to the college football playoff. While they could still get in due to some craziness, their head-to-head loss to Cincinnati and their lack of a conference championship I think is going to come back and bite them, and I think they're going to miss the playoff this year. We then saw a crazy stretch where Alabama was actually pushed by teams. In the past, we've seen so many blowouts from the Crimson Tide, but Tennessee, Arkansas, Florida, and LSU all gave them a serious run for their money, and then today, Auburn almost pulled off the shocking upset. Unfortunately for people who are rooting for chaos, that win did not happen, but we're going to see a college football playoff-like matchup next week as Georgia will take on Alabama. In terms of Ohio State, they had lost that game to Oregon, but they would need to lose 1 more. Many thought Michigan State was going to give them a run for their money, but that did not happen. Ohio State played one of the best games I've ever seen, and CJ Stroud had an unbelievable first half performance, and they took Michigan State to the woodshed. This past weekend though, despite all the odds stacked against them, Michigan beat Ohio State at the Big House. What does that mean? Ohio State football will not be playing next Saturday, and they are eliminated from the playoff. At this point, Clemson, Ohio State, and now Oklahoma will not be there. Notre Dame is likely not going to get a shot. Oregon shot themselves in the foot with losses to Stanford and Utah, and now there's an opportunity for chaos. If Georgia wins the SEC championship game next week, then it's fairly simple. They get a spot. If they lose, chaos could break loose. Let's say Alabama wins this game. They'll clinch a spot in the college football playoff, and Georgia likely gets one too. If Cincinnati takes care of Houston, then they're likely going to secure a spot as well. But if Michigan takes care of Iowa in the Big Ten Championship, they likely deserve a spot as well, and they will get in. The fifth domino would be if Oklahoma State can take care of Baylor in the Big 12 championship game. If that happens, we're going to have 4 one-loss teams and 1 undefeated team battling it out for 4 spots. The committee has a lot to figure out, and I have a terrible feeling that Cincinnati is going to be the team left out. I know a lot of fans of big schools and big programs don't really respect Cincinnati, but in their defense, they are undefeated. They beat a perennial blue blood who's right now 11-1, and they deserve a chance. They've done everything they've been asked, and with how everything has shapen up, there is no reason for them to be left out. Oklahoma State, on the other hand, they have 1 loss to Iowa State. Iowa State ended up going 7-5 this year, and while they were supposed to be playoff contenders, Oklahoma State has taken their spot. Compared to Michigan, who lost in a close game to a top 15 Michigan State team, which team has the worst loss of the bunch? Well, in that case, it's likely going to be Oklahoma State. Bama will have clinched it, Georgia's loss will have been to Bama, and both Cincinnati and Michigan are worthy. In all likelihood, I think one of these teams is going to get upset. Whether Iowa somehow beats Michigan, whether Houston somehow takes care of Cincinnati, or Baylor beats Oklahoma State, I think one of those 3 is going to happen. If I had to put my money and my channel on the line, I would say the playoff will be made up of Michigan, Alabama, Cincinnati, and Georgia. I've seen this movie too many times before to bet against Nick Saban, and out of those 5 teams, I think Oklahoma State is the biggest pretender of the bunch. In a perfect world, I'd love to see Alabama lose next week and allow basically 4 new teams to get in, but as a college football fan rooting for chaos, will that happen, and will the college football gods allow us to see that? I don't know, but this year has been an extreme breath of fresh air. I got unbelievably tired of Clemson, Oklahoma, Bama, Ohio State, and Notre Dame. While I love the players, respect the coaches, and love the tradition of those programs, just like any sport, you want to see new teams and you want to see other teams have a chance. That's what makes the NFL and college basketball so much fun. You never know who is going to win the playoffs, and so many different teams have a chance in March Madness. College football is not that way. Some people hate the idea of playoff expansion, but I am all for it. I want to watch more football, I want to see the sport become more balanced, and I think expanding it is the only way to make that happen. At bare minimum, you get a couple more games and a couple more upsets each year, but this year has been different, and I'm very thankful for it. Let me know what you guys think. What is your prediction for the 2022 college football playoff? What have been your thoughts on this season so far? And do you think college football is headed in a good or bad direction? Let me know down in the comment section, hit that like button if you want to support today's video, and be sure to check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.